Good morning, darlings. This is going to be a quick video, but it might be a longer lesson. It's up to you how much work you put in, and that will determine how much you get out of it for your revision and for your exams. So, this is sort of a continuation from where we left off last time when we were looking at the interaction between Juliet and her mother and their discussion about whether or not she would want to marry Paris. So, on the screen in front of you, we've got the makings of a Y plan, a spider diagram, a mind map, if you will. So, it says, what makes a good mother? And I'm going to ask you to do this in your books and fill in as many ideas as you possibly can. What I would advise you to do, though, is split this in half. You can either do left and right or top and bottom. It's entirely up to you. On one side, I would put in your ideas for today, this era that we're living in, what makes a good mother. Um, and then on the other side, I want you to think about what made a good mother 400 or so years ago when the play was set, at the time in which the play was set. And then you can highlight which ones haven't changed, which ones exist on both sides. So you can see a continuation of themes. And so, if you haven't watched the film recently or you've forgotten about this interaction, you can go back and have a look at that clip. And you can also have a look at your play. And I will link No Fear Shakespeare down in the description box for the modern English translation as well, in case you get stuck and you're not sure what they're saying. And then you can read it there and you can translate as well. So, make sure that you fill as much of the page as possible with lots and lots of detail. So we might, instead of just put caring, we might say cares about what and give several examples. What are the priorities for a mother to care about their child for? Okay, so go ahead and do that and pause the video whilst you do, and then come back when you're ready and we'll move on with today's task. Okay, so you need to then take what you've got and keep that in mind when you're doing this task. So it says on the screen, find the places in your play where you see the mothers, Ladies Capulet and Montague, talking about or to their children. What do we notice about the differences? So we're talking about when Lady Montague is talking about Romeo or has some sort of interaction with him. And then we're comparing that with Lady Capulet and her daughter Juliet. And we might see, in fact, we probably will see, and I'm sure you can all imagine me nodding because this will probably help you. We can see that Lady Montague is much less involved in Romeo's life than Lady Capulet is in Juliet's. Now, the reasons for this might be things like, I mean, these are things you can take into account when you are writing the answer to this question down here, which says, write a detailed account of where we see the differences, how they're presented, and what we, the audience, think about it. So we'll get onto that in a minute, but we might think about the reasons why Lady Montague has less to do with her son than Lady Capulet has to do with her daughter Juliet. And the first thing that comes to mind is that Romeo is a boy and Juliet is a girl. And that's an absolutely valid point. But I don't want you to stop there. I want you to think about age. Romeo is 18, he's an adult, he has his own life. Juliet is 13, almost 14, but still, yes, she could already be married and have children, but she is still a child in her parents' eyes, and she behaves like it because she doesn't want to get married. She doesn't want to cross that threshold into adulthood yet. And is wifedom a word? And being a spouse, being a wife, and potentially motherhood. So these are some things you can consider as well. So then I want you to write a detailed account of where we see the differences so you can directly compare them and think about how we're first introduced to each mother and how they're first presented in that role, for example. And when I say how they're presented, I mean with quotes and any particular methods that you see, any particular adjectives or tone of voice or length of speech or any particular words that are, any metaphors or any similes or anything like that, or any rhyme that Shakespeare's used, anything like that you can say, oh, this adjective suggests, and whatever it is, and then what we the audience think about it. Now again, this is where your spider diagram is going to come into play, because we the audience now might have a different opinion than the audience 400 or so years ago. So when I ask you about the audience, it's up to you. It's up to you to which one you do. It's up to you if you want to limit yourself to the audience at the time, or if you want to go for that extra level of analysis, you can compare the audience at the time to an audience nowadays, and how we might struggle to understand what they naturally got. Okay, so that's today's task. It might take you a lot longer than the 5 minutes or so that I've taken to walk you through it. If you have any issues, you know where I am. You can tweet me, you can email me. Please feel free to do so. Please give this your best shot, because parent and child relationships is something that we will look into significantly later on during our analysis. It won't hurt you to lay good foundations now, and there's a fair chance that something like this might come up in the exam. So, best to be prepared, cover all the bases, and do a good job. So again, you can type it up as usual. You can type it up and put it into the submissions folder. You can write it up and take a photo and email it to me. It's entirely up to you, but please, please, please make sure you are doing this work. And if anybody in your class and cohort is not doing this work, please, please, please nag them on their own behalf as well as mine, because it's for everybody's benefit if we're all at the same place when we eventually go back to normality. Stay safe, wash your hands, stay indoors, and I will hopefully see you very soon. Take care, and I'll see you next video.